These pillars dates back 11,600 years. It appears to be purposely buried at the same time of the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe. This is fascinating.
The big question for me in that timeline is, why did we wait until after 12,000 years ago to start seeing the beginnings, what are selected as the beginnings of civilization?
Before cities, before farming, before writing, humans built a monument to the sky. Not to gods, not to kings, but to the stars. On a hill called Göbekli Tepe, ancient builders carved animals into stone pillars. For thousands of years they were seen as art, until AI traced their positions. The patterns didn't match stories, they matched the night sky. And what they recorded may be the oldest cosmic warning in human history. When archaeologists began studying the pillars, they saw animals first: foxes, snakes, boars, vultures, scorpions. They were carved in clean lines, deep cuts, and sharp angles. Some were calm, some were violent, some showed teeth, some showed claws, some were paired with strange, abstract shapes. Human-like figures appeared too, headless bodies, arms carved into stone, hands folded across the front, belts at the waist. The pillars themselves were shaped like giant T-forms, not random, not natural, deliberate. Some scholars began to believe the pillars were not pillars at all. They were figures, human forms carved into stone, standing, watching, surrounding the circles. The animals weren't scattered randomly either. The same creatures appeared again and again across the site. The same combinations, the same groupings, the same positions. This repetition created a pattern, not decoration, not storytelling, not simple art. It looked more like a system. Some researchers suggested the animals were clan symbols. Others believed they were spirit guides. Some argued they were part of shamanic rituals. Some thought they represented death and rebirth. Others claimed they were myths carved in stone. But every theory hit the same wall. There was no key, no translation, no reference point, no written language, no known symbolic system to compare it to. The carvings became a silent language, a message with no dictionary, a code with no alphabet. And the most famous carving of all, Pillar 43, the so-called vulture stone, made the mystery even worse. A vulture, a scorpion, a headless human figure, strange symbols above them, shapes no one could place. For decades, experts argued over its meaning: ritual scene, death myth, spirit journey, burial story, ceremonial art. None of it fully fit. The symbols were too organized, too consistent, too structured. It didn't feel like belief, it felt like information. But no human mind could decode it, because human minds look for stories, not systems, not data.
Not patterns across thousands of carvings. And that's where everything changed, because the next researcher that studied Göbekli Tepe wasn't human at all. It didn't look for myths. It didn't look for stories. It didn't look for meaning. It only looked for patterns. And what it found didn't belong to Earth alone. When the final data layers were aligned, the pattern stopped looking like archaeology. It started looking like astronomy. The AI models revealed that the positions of the animal carvings matched stellar arrangements, not loosely, not symbolically, but structurally. The carvings aligned with constellation patterns. The fox symbols appeared in the same spatial positions as a bright stellar system near Sirius. The scorpion carvings matched the shape and orientation of Scorpio. The vulture forms aligned with ancient star groupings tied to death and transition in early sky lore. The snakes followed long curved paths that matched known celestial arcs. The site wasn't decorated, it was mapped. Göbekli Tepe wasn't a temple, it wasn't a shrine, it wasn't a ritual center. It was a sky model carved into stone, a three-dimensional star map, a prehistoric observatory, not built to worship the sky, built to track it, to mark it, to record it. The AI didn't interpret meaning, it matched geometry, and the geometry matched the night sky.
For the first time, the symbols made sense as a system. Each animal wasn't an animal. It was a marker, a position, a coordinate, a reference point. And that changed everything, because one pillar stood out more than all the others. Pillar 43, the vulture stone. When its carvings were mapped into the AI model, the alignment was not general. It was precise, exact, time-specific, date-specific. The star positions matched a single configuration in Earth's past. Not a season, not a cycle, not a repeating pattern, a moment, a fixed point in time. And when the astronomical model was dated, it didn't land in myth, it didn't land in legend, it didn't land in symbolism. It landed on a date tied to one of the most violent events in Earth's history. An event that reshaped the planet. An event that nearly erased human populations. An event science already knows, but never thought humans recorded. When the AI dated the alignment on Pillar 43, it pointed to 12,800 years ago, the beginning of the Younger Dryas, a sudden ice age that followed a catastrophic cosmic event. Scientists believe fragments of a comet or meteor struck Earth, triggering floods, wildfires, and a global temperature drop. Entire ecosystems collapsed, human populations dwindled, chaos rippled across continents. For decades, researchers assumed hunter-gatherers were simple, reactive, and limited in understanding. But Göbekli Tepe tells a different story. These people were watching the sky, observing cycles, and recording cataclysmic events in stone. The vulture stone wasn't a ritual, it wasn't a myth, it was a chronicle of survival, a warning, a permanent record of a catastrophe so massive that it shaped the climate, the land, and the very trajectory of humanity. And Göbekli Tepe doesn't stop at one event. AI analysis shows multiple cycles embedded across different pillars, repetition, patterns, subcycles, not random, not accidental. These hunter-gatherers weren't just documenting history, they were mapping recurring cosmic dangers. They were thinking in cycles, not lines, observing patterns of destruction and renewal, predicting the rhythms of a universe that could wipe them out in an instant. This raises an unsettling thought. If humanity 12,000 years ago was leaving warnings in stone about cosmic events, what do we ignore today? Because the knowledge embedded at Göbekli Tepe wasn't meant for their time, it was meant to survive us, to survive the next cycle of destruction. Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a calendar, it was a message across time, a warning left in stone by people who saw themselves as participants in a cosmic drama, not just observers. They understood destruction was cyclical, renewal was inevitable, life was fragile, humanity was small. The T-shaped pillars were more than human figures. They were bridges between earth and sky, between life and death, between memory and warning. Each carving, each animal, each abstract symbol encoded knowledge that could survive millennia. They weren't praying to gods, they were communicating with the universe.
Time, to them, was not linear. It was a circle of cycles, catastrophes, and survival. They knew events could repeat. They knew patterns returned. And they built Göbekli Tepe to record these patterns, to preserve understanding, to ensure that knowledge could survive not just their generation, but countless future ones. And the symbols? They weren't just static. They told stories of cosmic alignment, planetary rhythm, and the consequences of celestial disruption. We look at these carvings and see art. They saw memory, warning, strategy. They knew the universe could erase everything in a heartbeat, and they decided to fight back, not with weapons, not with walls, not with empires, but with information carved into stone. And they didn't stop with Göbekli Tepe. Other hills, other sites,
other pillars. The story continues beyond what we thought was the beginning of civilization. For decades, Göbekli Tepe was thought to be unique, a lonely hill of stone in a forgotten corner of Turkey. But recent excavations tell a different story. Archaeologists have uncovered multiple stone hills in the region, sites like Karahan Tepe and others, each echoing the same design. The same T-shaped pillars, the same carved symbols. The similarities are striking. Pillars with vultures, snakes, foxes, and abstract figures, circular enclosures, human-like statues, repetition of patterns and symbols. And these weren't isolated acts. Each site appears to be part of a widespread cultural network, coordinated across hundreds of kilometers. AI analysis shows these sites share a common symbolic language, not just art, but structured information. The patterns align in ways that suggest knowledge of celestial cycles, cosmic events, and planetary rhythms. It's as if a single civilization, or at least a connected network of tribes, shared wisdom of the stars long before writing existed. The network suggests something startling. These ancient people weren't primitive. They weren't isolated. They were organized, strategic, and forward-thinking, pooling resources and knowledge to survive extreme cosmic disruptions. Göbekli Tepe was just one node in a larger civilization-scale archive, a series of observatories, memorials, and warmings carved into stone. A civilization built not for kings or gods or conquest, but for memory and survival. And the AI hints that even more sites remain hidden beneath the soil. Sites that could expand the cosmic map. Sites that could redefine everything we think we know about the dawn of civilization. Göbekli Tepe was never meant to be discovered. It was buried deliberately, hidden beneath a hill, its knowledge preserved in stone for a future that its builders could not imagine. Pillars turned inward, carvings protected, symbols encoded with precision, a warning, a memory, a lesson. For 12,000 years it lay in silence, waiting. And now, with AI, we are finally beginning to read it. We see a civilization that defies the timeline of human history. People without farms, cities, or written language, recording cosmic events with accuracy that challenges our understanding of intelligence and observation. They saw time in cycles, not lines. They knew the universe could strike without warning, and they built monuments to teach future generations. Other stone hills suggest this was not an accident. It was a network of knowledge, a civilization-wide strategy for survival, stretching across landscapes and millennia. And yet, we are only scratching the surface. The AI has revealed patterns, but the deeper meaning, the full story, may lie in sites still hidden beneath the layers of Earth, waiting to be uncovered. Göbekli Tepe asks us a question across time. If a civilization could see the rhythms of the cosmos, predict cataclysmic events, and encode knowledge for survival, what would we leave behind? And more chillingly, what if the next cycle has already begun?